Minasan konnichiwa, this is Matt Tokuhara from the Matsumoto Castle Gun Corps, and we're going to ask a simple question with a complex answer. Did the samurai use guns? Now, to give this simple question a simple answer, yes, the samurai did use guns. However, sometimes there are complexities when people try to understand this answer. Some people will say yes, the samurai used guns, however they believe that they were dishonourable. Some people say only the ashigaru or the infantry used guns, whilst the samurai led them into combat using their swords. And some people say that after the Warring States era, the samurai gave up the gun. So in this episode, we're going to ask 3 questions. Did the samurai use guns? Did the samurai believe that guns were dishonourable? And did guns lead to the end of the feudal and samurai era? The first of these questions is very easy to answer. Yes, the samurai definitely did use guns. The Matsumoto Castle Gun Corps has access to a very fine collection of guns called the Akahane collection. This collection of around 300 guns has been researched over the past 35 years, not only by us at the Gun Corps, but also the other staff at the castle. And many of the finest guns in the collection were the personal weapons of the samurai. These guns are custom made and highly decorated. The gunsmiths that produced these guns were so proud of their work that they inscribed their names on them and the name of the samurai that they were designed for. Many of the samurai would also decorate their guns with motifs and clan emblems. And being as peasants or the population in general in feudal Japan were not allowed access to weapons, gunsmiths were very keen to sell their guns to the Japanese nobility. And here's the next question. Did the samurai think that guns were dishonourable? If you've seen certain Hollywood movies or played certain games, the impression is that samurai thought that guns were dishonourable. But let's not forget that the samurai were not just soldiers, and this is a very important point. They were also the politicians, diplomats and custodians of Japanese society. That being so, it was the samurai who introduced the weapons to the population. After acquiring the guns and the ability to reproduce the technology, it was the samurai who then went on to order thousands and thousands and thousands of guns into production during the Warring States era. It was the samurai who trained the ashigaru how to use the guns. And it was the samurai that led those troops in the battle, using the very fine examples of guns we described earlier. In addition, the way of the gun, hojutsu, was created. This was not just a way of formalizing training during the Warring States era, but it was also several schools of shooting during the Edo era as well. Many samurai were still expected to be able to train the ashigaru. And many samurai also enjoyed recreational hunting. There were also demonstrations held at places like Matsumoto Castle, similar to what the Matsumoto Castle Gun Corps do today. But these demonstrations were not for the benefit of the general public. They were for the benefit of the local lord and commanders who were reviewing their troops. And finally, did guns cause the end of the samurai and feudal era in Japan? No, guns did not cause the end of the samurai. Arriving in Japan in 1543, the samurai continued to exist for another 325 years up until the Meiji Restoration, after the introduction of firearms. The Meiji Restoration was driven in part by the arrival of weapons, but also the arrival of Western technology to Japan. Machinery, medicine and education were just as important in influencing the emperor's decision to change the feudal government to an imperial one. The Tokugawa shogunate had ruled for hundreds of years, and the shogun's power had essentially defined what the social, political and international policies of Japan were during the feudal era. Changing that system was not going to be simple, and that was the Meiji Restoration. So what can we say in conclusion about whether the samurai used guns? We can say yes, they definitely did use guns. And this was not just in a warfare environment. They were also used for ceremonial purposes, much like what we do at the Matsumoto Castle Gun Corps, but also recreational purposes as well, such as hunting. We can also say that large numbers of guns were stockpiled during the feudal era, and should conflict break out, the samurai would once again be expected to train and lead their troops into battle. In our conclusion, we can also suggest that the samurai did not think that guns were dishonourable. This is because it was the samurai who defined how wars were fought in Japan during the Warring States era. In addition, the suggestion that the use of firearms somehow goes against the moral code known as Bushido is simply not true. This is because the vast majority of interpretations of Bushido all over the world are based on Nitobe Inazo's Bushido, the Sword of the Samurai, which was written in 1900, and of course this is well after the age of the samurai had ended. Other interpretations came in the mid-1600s, well after guns had first been used in battle. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find out more about the Matsumoto Castle Gun Corps and Japanese gunnery.